Hello everyone, welcome back to 358 Outdoors. I am grateful you're here. Let's talk a little bit about Africa. Hey guys, we finally made it on our first safari, and more importantly, we made it back. But I had to tell you, being my first safari and the first safari of our group, my opinion, I don't believe it could have gone any better. I think what we expected, those expectations were fulfilled, and it was a fantastic trip. And like many people I've spoken with and articles that I've read, if you have a good time, you're typically booking or on your way to booking your next trip before you leave your first one. True statement. I tell you what, guys, if you have an opportunity to go, by all means, go. It is well worth it. So, from obviously the hunting party that I was a part of, from family to best friends, just a great group, to the food that was served each night and for lunches and breakfast, and then the sheer variety of animals and the sheer number of animals that we all saw. It was fantastic. It was nothing like I had ever experienced before in my life. So with that said, let's kind of start back at the beginning. We flew out of Grand Rapids on September 26th down to Atlanta, Georgia, 2-hour layover. We departed Atlanta, Georgia for Johannesburg, South Africa at 10 p.m., thereabouts. Guys, it was a 15-and-a-half-hour flight. It sounds absolutely terrible, but with the excitement of getting there, it wasn't that bad. For me, at least. I don't think it was that bad for my brother and sister-in-law or for Nick, for that matter. But anyways, it was a 15-and-a-half-hour trip. And I tell you what, I've flown to Alaska before. That was a pretty, 5-hour trip, 6-hour trip. But man, 15 hours. When you look at the screen, it says, oh, you've been in the air for 8 hours. It's like, wow, great. I've got 7 more to go. And when you realize you're over the mid-Atlantic and there's not an ounce of dry dirt anywhere for a very long ways, it's a different perspective. But anyways, the flight to Johannesburg, uneventful. We got to the hotel that night. We spent the night there. Next morning, we got up. It was a little more than a 3-hour drive north of Johannesburg up to a town called Lepelele. Lepelele, we essentially hung a left, so now we're heading west and a little south to a village called Sandbult. And you'll see that in the map that I put up here. But anyways, and we're just south of that. And the first day, the day that we arrived in camp, was not a hunting day. They did not count that as a hunting day. So we flew out Friday, arrived Saturday night, picked up Sunday morning, driven up to the camp. Sunday afternoon, sighted in our rifles to make sure everything was on. And then had a wonderful meal that night, and then we hunted the next morning. But with respect to rifles, as you guys know, I was shooting a 358 Winchester. I was a little apprehensive as I was load developing. I was going between the 225 Woodley protected point to the Barnes 200 TTSX, and I finally settled on the 250 Spear. When I showed up, my brother Mike was shooting a 340 Weatherby Magnum with a 250 grain TSX at about 2,900, all hand-loaded ammo. His wife was shooting a 338 Federal, which I was pretty intrigued with that. She was shooting 185 Barnes tipped triple shock. And my buddy Nick was shooting a 7 PRC. Again, all this ammo's hand-loaded, 7 PRC with a 168 grain LRX, Barnes LRX. I was the ugly duckling. Everybody's shooting monolithic. The guides were happy about that because that's what they recommended. But again, I was the ugly duckling shooting the spear hot core. Old technology, old, big, and slow. And I tell you what, when we were driving from the airport up to camp, man, it really started to play with my head going, did I load the right round? I mean, my muzzle velocity is only 2,300, actually it was 2,360, the average was. And, oh my gosh, did I do the right thing here? But I tell you what, the first animal we got on the first day was my zebra. And we'll show you that right now, and you'll see exactly what happened. All right, so that concession that we got the zebra in was about 30,000 acres. And we were not in it very long when we came upon a stallion and a mare just off to the right. They said it's legal to shoot from the vehicles in South Africa. I really didn't want to do that. Even if I wanted to, I was not able to get on them soon enough. They had crossed in front of us, and at that point we decided just to park the truck, go on foot, track them. We came up on the herd a little bit later, maybe, I don't know, 100 yards in. We had just a tiny window, an opportunity to possibly get a shot off. I decided to hold off. I wasn't comfortable with the shot. It was a hard quartering 2-shot through brush. Not really what I wanted to do. I'd never shot through that kind of brush before. So we decided to let the herd run off some more. We did some more follow-up, came into an opening, and that's what you saw. That shot was about 70 to 75 yards, and it appeared broadside to me. It really wasn't. It was slightly quartering to, not by very much. But anyways, with respect to zebra and shot placement, and for most if not all African game, their vitals lay slightly further forward in the chest cavity than do game animals here. So if you were to place the shot in the normal crease behind the shoulder, there's a chance, if that animal's quartering away or quartering to you, or even broadside, there's a chance that shot could be too far back and place that round into the guts. So you need to aim forward. And on a zebra, it's very easy to distinguish. There's literally a triangle. Whenever you look at a picture of a zebra, you'll see a triangle right on the shoulder, right where the body comes into the shoulder there, comes into the leg there. Right there, that triangle, and the PH says put it on the triangle, and that's what you do. So that shot was a little forward in the triangle, not much. Thankfully, it was quartering slightly too. We had complete pass-through, and it came out just on the crease of the offside shoulder. And there's a picture I'd love to show you, but I can't because YouTube probably wouldn't. They'd probably take the video down. But anyways, what we found was I was surprised, frankly. The zebra's a lot bigger than I thought it was. About 700 pounds, 650 pounds, thereabouts. And even at that low velocity, that big heavy spear, man, it plowed right through it. So When you go back and look at the slow motion, you will see when that zebra runs off, it's certainly favoring that right shoulder because we busted that shoulder, and it's not doing real well on the other one. And in slow motion, you see as it's just about to disappear behind those bushes, it kind of makes a dive to the right. And if you continue to watch the shrubs or the bushes behind the zebras, that's where that zebra went down, and it must have been thrashing because you see the bushes moving all over the place while the other zebras are running away from that. So from the point of impact, that zebra spun and ran maybe 20 yards, 25 yards. So very, very pleased. And it was at that moment that my decision to load the spear, the 250, to me, that really kind of solidified that decision. Okay, so with respect to the zebra, here's the chart, the ballistic chart for that particular load. At the muzzle, velocity of 2,360 feet per second, generating 3,092 foot-pounds. At 70 yards, or roughly the distance that we shot the zebra, that bullet landed traveling 2,241 feet per second with 2,788 foot-pounds of energy. Anyways, on to the blue wildebeest. The blue wildebeest was taken the same day as the zebra. Actually, we got the zebra, blue wildebeest, and Impala. So my first day, I was able to get 3 of my 4 animals, or 3 of my 5 animals. But the blue wildebeest was a little different story. And to be respectful of your time, we got on some tracks, and I tell you what, whatever you read or heard about an African tracker, it is probably understated, because those guys are unbelievable. For them to be able to distinguish a certain species track, female or male, to begin with, in and amongst all these other species tracks in sandy soil, and be able to follow that, unbelievable. We followed the small group of wildebeest for about 2.5 hours, and long story short, we came up on it. You know, it was 85 degrees, it was hot, sandy soil, it was a long walk. There wasn't enough time for the tracker to put down the sticks, so he basically went like this, and I rested the rifle on the shoulder. That blue wildebeest was giving me a frontal at about 70 yards. The PH said put it on his shoulder, put it on his chest, and that's what I thought I did. At the shot, he collapsed, got back up, and took off. We tracked that thing for a long ways, probably another 300 to 400 yards, before we came up on him in a bed, and I had to put another one in him. At the end of the day, I did not aim as low as I did. I thought I was aiming. I wish I would have had a fire dot or illuminated reticle, because that really would have helped out, because he was standing underneath a tree. He's jet black to begin with, standing in shade, facing me. And I'm not making excuses. I did not put the shot where I needed it to go. But I basically put it right through his bottom lip, and it went into his neck, and I'm absolutely floored that bullet didn't break his neck. But anyways, when you look at a profile of blue wildebeest, their head is straight out. And that bullet went all the way through its neck and came out the left shoulder, just above the left or just in front of the left shoulder. And essentially, he just bled out. If we would have left him in his bed for another 5 to 10 minutes, I'm guessing he would have been dead. But to put the poor guy out of his misery, went up and put another one in him. Okay, so the next animal was the Impala, and with respect to the 358 and shooting that 250, obviously it works well on the bigger animals. I was a bit concerned on the lighter animals in that I wasn't going to get sufficient expansion, sufficient energy transfer, what have you, and I fully expected to track the Impala. And initially I wanted to go after a springbuck, but that wasn't going to happen. But I thought shooting these smaller, lighter animals, these antelope with larger, heavier bullets, I didn't expect a short recovery. I expected them to run a bit. So Anyways, we were driving back, I believe it was the weaning hours of the day, heading kind of back towards the lodge, and all of a sudden we come into this opening, and standing off to the right along the edge of some thorn brush was an Impala ram. The PH snapped his fingers, the tracker stopped the truck, PH said shoot off the truck. I asked him how far, he said 150 yards. It was a hard quartering, kind of a hard quartering 2 shot, and at the shot, the ram hit the dirt right where it was standing, ended up coming right in the crease of the shoulder and the neck area, and it came out behind the shoulder on the other side. I was frankly I was a bit shocked, so pretty happy with that one. And not to mention, the Impala at 150 yards was the furthest shot taken out of our group the entire trip. We took a total of 17 animals, and 150 yards was the furthest shot. Pretty amazing. Alright, so the last animal I was able to take on this trip was a common Blesbok. And I tell you what, they're not blessed with intelligence. At least the herd that we took this one out of wasn't very intelligent. Anyways, as you'll see in this brief video, we got pretty close. We got about 20 yards. And out of all of them, for me, it was the closest shot that I took the entire week. And sadly, I'm kind of embarrassed about this, had the worst shot placement. Not making excuses again, but we got set up. I was on the sticks. We have this herd feeding left to right, and the PH put me on, told me he picked out the one that I should shoot, and I told him I couldn't shoot because I had brush in front of me. Well, I'm sitting there waiting, and he's slowly feeding, and as you'll see, there'll be another one that steps into the picture frame much closer than the one I was going to shoot. And it took my focus off the one I was shooting. I went to the one that came into the frame. I thought he was going to spook, thus spooking the rest of them. I quick pivoted, put the hairs back on the one the PH wanted me to shoot. I thought I had the hairs on the shoulder, touched it off, and as you'll see, I didn't hit the shoulder. I am so happy that I slowed that clip down, because if you look closely, there's evidence. I'd never seen this before, but that bullet either hit a branch or a blade of grass before getting to that Blesbok. Not that a little tiny branch or a blade of grass is going to throw that 250 off, but at least now I have an excuse, and I'm going to use that to the fullest extent, especially when I'm around my brothers and my buddy Nick. So anyways, what a fantastic time. I cannot state that enough, and I'm so grateful for my buddy Nick that invited us. He's the one that filmed the 2 videos that we have. Wish we could have got more, but if any of you have hunted over there, you understand that these things happen that fast, and sometimes there's just no time to film. But anyways, I'm grateful for him. I am grateful to have spent that time with my brother and his wife, and all the memories that are created, and I'm certainly looking forward to going back again. So anyways, that's the trip in a nutshell. If you'd like me to go over a bit more detail in with respect to transporting your own firearm to and from Africa, what that was like, I can certainly do that, as well as just, again, the general accommodations that we had at camp. Again, it was amazing, and we are looking at going back probably sooner than later. Not quite sure how that's going to work, but anyways, the important thing is we are looking at going back after buffalo. I can't wait. So anyways, until next time, which is going to be really soon, we got Levi out deer hunting this year, and I'm pretty excited to show you that. That's coming up here with the 708. So anyways, until then, we'll see you guys later. Thanks again for being here at 358 Outdoors. God bless.